Land capability factors. Land is the collection of an area's natural and artificial resources that are used for agricultural and other purposes. Cropland is land used for growing crops. Cropland has many different characteristics that provide a good environment for crop growth, but one of the most important is soil. Soil characteristics like texture, nutrients, and internal structure affect productivity. Land capability describes how well the land can be used for agricultural purposes. Capability factors are characteristics that determine the best crop use for a piece of land. Surface texture, internal drainage, soil depth, slope, erosion, and surface runoff are all capability factors. Surface texture is the relative percentage of sand, silt, and clay in the soil. Soil can be classified using a soil texture triangle. Internal drainage, also known as soil permeability, indicates the movement of water and air through the soil. Varying speeds of water movement transport dissolved nutrients in varying amounts, so the amount of nutrients in soil is related to internal drainage. The depth of soil is another capability factor. Soil depth is the vertical distance from the surface of the soil to a layer where the downward growth of most plant roots stops. Soil depth generally refers to the topsoil, the most fertile layer of soil. The deeper the roots protrude, the better the soil. The slope of the land is an important capability factor. If the land has too much slope, then it allows for erosion and surface runoff to occur, which damages the soil. If the land is strongly sloping, then it should not be used for planting crops, because erosion and surface runoff are inevitable. Lands with a gentle slope can be managed by terracing or contour farming. However, flat lands with no slope are most desirable. Erosion is a major cause of soil loss and occurs both with strongly sloping land and with high winds or heavy rains. Erosion is simply the carrying of soil from one location to another by wind, water, and gravity. When fertile topsoil is carried away by erosion, land loses valuable nutrients. Erosion can be minimized by reducing how often soil is exposed or turned over by tillage. If soil disturbance is minimized, then soil stays anchored by plant roots. Surface runoff occurs when soil is moved by water because of a slope in the land. Surface runoff is harmful because it takes nutrients from one location and deposits them in another location, which can cause plants to die or develop problems due to lack of nutrients. And now, let's explore the core. The slope of the land is an important factor when evaluating a land's capability class. A farmer has a tract of land that lies on a sloping plain, and the farmer wants to determine the slope of the land. When looking at the profile of his land, the farmer notices that the incline is 200 feet long in the horizontal direction, and the top of the incline is 8 feet higher than the base. The slope, m, is the rate of change between the vertical and horizontal directions. In other words, slope is the change in the vertical direction, or rise, divided by the change in the horizontal direction, or run. In our example, m equals 8 feet divided by 200 feet, so m equals 0.04. For the purpose of land classification, the slope is given as a percentage. To change the slope to a percent, multiply m by 100. 0.04 times 100 equals 4%. What does a 4% slope represent? 4% indicates that for every 100 feet of change in the positive horizontal direction, the elevation of the land increases by 4 feet. A 4% slope is classified as moderately sloping using the land capability classification. If the farmer wanted an equation to represent all the points that are included along the incline, he could use the general point slope formula. Y of A represents the y-coordinate at point A, and x of A represents the x-coordinate at point A. So y of A equals 300 and x of A equals 0. Remember that the slope we just calculated was 4%, or 0.04. So we plug that in for m. This gives us an equation in slope-intercept form that we can use to find any point on the incline. Let's check our equation by plugging in the coordinates of point B at the top of the incline. Because the two sides of the equation are equal, we know that our equation is correct. Today's SAT word is protrude. To protrude is to project or to thrust forward. In the lesson, we learned that an indication of good soil depth is seeing plant roots protrude or thrust forward deep into the soil.